Alrighty, well, it is day 7. We're out here. We're gonna tell a story about an ae86 drift car. That one. No, not that one. That one. I mean both of them, technically. Okay, so once upon a time. Yeah, all good stories start like that. Once upon a time, that shell was my shell. It came up for sale on Marketplace for a grand total of $600. I went and met the guy. I talked him down to $500. It was a semi-rolling shell. So it had the diff, no front suspension, had the rear diff, but no springs or anything like that in it. It had a passenger seat. It had the original hatch on it, which is obviously different to that one because that one's red. And almost no interior, like I said, basically just the passenger seat. So I got that. I got it back to my workshop. I started cleaning it and looking after it and everything like that. Then my brother was like, hey, that shell's got no rust and it's straight, and mine isn't straight and it has a bit of rust. So I want to buy it off of you. I'm like, one day. But anyway, I kept the shell for a while and I posted it up and I was like, I'm going to build a sub $3,000 ae86 drift car. And people turn around and I think Pecky said that there's no way you could build one for sub $3,000. I'm like, bet. So I sat on it for a while. One of my friends was like, hey, I'm going to sell my 4AGE out of my ae82. It's $350 with Loom and ECU, which is currently the one that is in that one there. So yeah, that finally came up for sale, so I went around and I picked that up. I left it outside the car and I started cleaning it up and trying to find mounts and everything for it, so all that sort of stuff. Then my brother was like, yeah, I'll buy it off you. So I was like, alright, well, I got a deal for you. Instead of buying it off me, how about we trade shells and you give me $1,500? And he was like, sweet deal, let me save up $1,500. So he saved up $1,500 and we did a swap, and part of it was I helped him reshell into this. So a lot of his parts, like the bar, the lights, the grill, the engine, the mirrors, all the interior, all came out of his car and went into this shell here. And then I ended up with his less straight shell. And I mean, I always wanted it just for a drift car, so I'd never really planned to go on the street with it, so it wasn't that big of a deal for me. However, that is not that car. That is another car that a friend of mine owns. So he has that car now. This used to be his one here. He picked this shell up off, I believe, Anthony Bryant for $400. So he got a pretty good deal with it, and I mean, he had it for 6 or 7 years. Like, he had it the whole time. My brother had that basically. So he had it for quite some time. However, it's been full of rust the whole time. The rear suspension is being converted to like a rose jointed one. So like, it's got bits notched out of the rear and boxed in. I don't know if you can see that, but the rear suspension from the diff is being boxed into here, so we have no rear seat space or anything like that. Basically, it's just been set up for a drift car as well. So he was like, well, I want a street car. I want to turn my turbo ae86 into a street car. And I was like, well, you know what? I'll offer you the same deal that I offered my brother. $1,500 and swap me your old shell and I'll sort you out with shit that you need. So he was like, alright, cool. In the end he was like, well, if I let you keep the coilovers that are in it, which are the TRD ones because it's already been converted, will you take $1,300? And I'm like, well, that's actually a pretty reasonable deal. I think that's pretty good. So I did that. So now I have this shell and all the parts that he didn't want with, yeah. So anyway, so at this point I'm up $2,800 minus $350 for the engine. I bought a ae86 rolling shell for $100. It had the engine and everything like that in there. I took the suspension out of it and then sold it for $400. So you know, plus three. So basically I sold the original passenger seat, so that was $50. So I think basically I'm sitting at still like $2,800 profit. I don't think I've spent a thing on it since. So another way to save cost was also cut the springs that were in it. Obviously I've got the coilovers, I've got the engine in there. The money is basically going to go towards the gearbox and also the drive shaft. I need a new drive shaft because that wasn't included. I was given that wing for free, so that was pretty cool. That steering wheel in there was given to me for free. The seats that are in it, free. The brakes that I got on it, free. I got a bunch of parts under the house. So, I mean, it's taken, I think, 4 years to this point, and 2 shells later, but I believe my net sum spend will probably still be under $3,000. Even pre-net, so like just the gross spend, I think I can get to about $3,000. So yeah, that is the gist of the story so far with my ae86 and my brother's ae86 and my mate's ae86. So long story, sorry about that. It's about 8 minutes, Jesus. 8 minutes of a story so far, and it's not done yet, so we'll get there with that one and that one, both of them. Yeah, anyway, should probably do something to him today, maybe go for a drive, see my mate, see if I can't get him to let me work on his car and film it. Oh, don't mind me, I'm just making sure my Corolla grows up nice and mouldy. Alright, so I've determined that the problem with tyres brakes is that basically the master's dead. It's leaking out, so and that's going to have to be rebuilt or replaced. So what I'm going to do now is just put the rest of the tyre's interior back together, and then yeah. So as you've probably noticed before, I take the bonnet off, like all the way off. I'm thinking it's time to put some bolts in the hinges and just get it so I don't have to keep dragging it around everywhere every time I want to open the bonnet.
So what are you doing this?
Right, well that's another thing checked off the list. The bonnet pins aren't quite straight. That far side one seems to be pushing that way a little bit, so I'm just going to have a good look at it and see if I can sort of twist it back this way just this tiny bit, and hopefully it should slot down through the bonnet just a little bit easier. Righty, well I think that's me for the day. It's all nice and sorted now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to put it all together and get it out for tonight. Also, I just want a big massive shout out to everyone that's been tuning in this last week. I honestly didn't expect that just the amount of view time and like the amount of likes and everything on these stupid little vlogs that aren't really that little because they go for about 20 minutes. And the 24 subscribers in a week. I really didn't expect that kind of response, so I'm going to keep trying to bring as much content to you as possible. I'm going to try to keep up this vlog a day sort of thing. Hopefully I can keep producing at least moderate content. Either way, thanks for tuning in. Peace out, I'll see you tomorrow.